Hey, everybody. See, we've got some people filing in here. As per usual, we're going to give, 4 or 5 minutes for everyone to get joined. Usually a couple late joiners, all busy folks, things can come up, and then we will jump in and get started. Pam will be here in just a moment. She has had to be on the road a little bit today, so I think she was having some trouble finding a good connection. Um, to get on with, but she should be here. I hope you're all having a good day. Like, got some people filing in here. Good to see so many of our clients with us here today. And again, we'll probably get started here in just a couple minutes. I see Amy Schimler is here today, our past guest from this series. Hi, Amy. Thanks for doing this once before and joining today. I will cover this in our intro as well, but just so it's been said once, as we're all sitting here for another moment or two before we get started, we're going to be handling the conversation through Q&A versus the chat. So if you have any messages, feel free to put those in the Q&A. Hey, Pam, how are you today?
Good. Sorry. Computer had my old time zone. So I
Not a
wasn't
problem at
on my
all.
radar yet.
Yeah, we know how it can be. We live in a technology world. Technology will betray us every once in a while, right? Good. Well, I think we've all had a few minutes to get filed in here. We may have a couple late joiners, but we'll go ahead and get started. Real quick for everybody who's on, first off, thank you for joining. My name is Britt Greer. I'm the Director of Client Success here with RealTech. I'm really excited that you have chosen to give us some of your time today. I think we're going to have some great insights. If you've not been on one of our Day in the Life webinars before, main objective here is for us to take some of our clients and connect them with the community of our other clients so that we can share insights, learn from each other, get better as property managers, and also for us get better as a vendor for websites and marketing who provides for you. I think that we've had a lot of good success from those creating those connections in the past, and it's something we'll continue to do down the road. So as you're watching this, as you're listening to this, as you're reflecting on this, you have thoughts about ways you'd love to see this particular webinar series evolve, ways that could be more beneficial for you. I think Mia here will put my email address in the chat. Feel free to shoot me an email and let me know if you have feedback. We just want it to be the best we can be. That said, if as we're talking here today, if you have any questions that you want to ask Pam, go ahead and put those in the Q&A panel versus the chat. The chat won't be working except for Mia, but Q&A is where you can put those questions, and we'll save a few minutes for the end to address those. Without further ado, this is Pamela Quinn from LakeDays.Rentals. They are a Casago franchise based out of the Ozarks in Missouri, and it's certainly an impressive operation. She is the Chief Experience Officer there, and I'll let her talk a lot more about that here in just a moment. But she's been a RealTech client for a couple years now, and we're really excited to have her. Hey, Pam.
How are you doing?
How am I doing? I'm doing pretty well.
Awesome. I'm glad to
And
be here. It's always exciting to share our stories. Actually just spent a couple days talking about the importance of sharing best practices and stories. So
great, great. And you and your husband also do a webinar series for the Lake Days brand, kind of talking about your story, correct?
we do. We have a podcast that is here at the lake. It focuses on it's kind of 3 tiers. So it has lake market area information, and then we feature a local partner or local tourism centric partner. And then we also feature some of our properties as well.
That's great. Yeah, if anyone out there has not checked that out before, I encourage you to do it. Follow Pam on LinkedIn. You typically post a lot about upcoming episodes there, don't you?
Yes, yep. We try and
Per-
put it out there as we get into season. It seems like our partners are a little busy. I guess they're less interested in being on screen and on audio, but we're hoping to have it still stay consistent monthly throughout the year.
Great, great. Well, that's exciting. Well, then I guess go ahead and give us a little bit of background on Lake Days Rentals and what your story is there.
Absolutely. So we landed at the lake honestly because my husband bought a boat. I mean that really a lot of fun stories happen at Lake of the Ozarks because somebody bought a boat, and this is one of them. He had retired from his federal role in working for the government, and it was in the middle of the pandemic, and he had some time to look for this boat that had been on my vision board for about a year. And it was on my vision board because I in my mind, I was building my company up to be at the point where that was part of our family, this boat that
Hmm.
he was pursuing. So started there, found out that boat doesn't fit very well in Nebraska, so we needed to find a lake,
Yep.
and Lake of the Ozark became that lake for us. We bought a vacation rental, and as we evaluated what it looked like to have that vacation rental, and we evaluated the available opportunities for property management in the area, we we didn't find what we wanted. A big part of that was that the average commission rate was over 35% at the time, which is very high compared to national averages. And then there just wasn't really the technology that we expected or wanted. And we come from, my husband has over 30 years of real estate investment experience.
Hmm.
So we came from a history of expectations. And so we decided we would self-manage was the initial thought. And then after we dove into technology and found out how much there is, we decided that if we're going to do this, we probably should do more than one because there's a lot to take on. So we
Yeah.
had our property and one other in 2021 and went through that summer just evaluating technology, evaluating what it looked like to do vacation rental management. And
Hmm.
then we also looked at what it would mean to live at Lake of the Ozarks. We actually lived in a hotel with our three kids, two dogs. Who I probably shouldn't tell them I messed that up.
My lips are
three,
sealed.
yeah, three kids, two dogs in a hotel for a few weeks and landed in a house. I mean, it was very spontaneous. The start was for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And remind me how many properties you got now? Is it 140, give or take, in 4 years?
Yeah, so in contract, we actually are close to 180.
It's pretty
So
fantastic growth.
yeah, we have a number of properties that are what we call pending to live status. So they go into contract with us so that we can support them as buyers, as they're remodeling the property, as they're getting ready. And some of those, take a few months to get to live point.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue then. That rapid growth. You are the chief experience officer at Lake Days. Can you tell me a little about your role in the business and how you think that's impacted that rapid growth?
Yes. So the chief experience officer title really just evolved from, what do I want my role to be? Obviously, CEO is kind of how it's perceived publicly, but the experience part is what we built our company on. I mean, even from the early first website we had up, which was a homemade one,
Yep.
to um, to how we presented ourselves, we provide intentionally designed lake experiences. So the chief experience officer, that role was created just as a public title. We didn't have staff for the first till the end of 2022.
Hmm.
And so it was more of a public facing title. It's evolved to grow into who leads and guides and shares the vision for where we're going. And also because we started at the level we did, I've done everything from the laundry to the cleaning, as has my husband and our kids. We've done every aspect of the business. Setting up the PMS, building the website, setting up the booking systems. All of those aspects are things we performed before we hand it off to somebody else. So
Gotcha. Yeah. So lots of hands on a lot of pots, but really it's kind of an all-encompassing thing about the experience of being an owner and the experience of being a guest.
Yes, and I think it's important to have that knowledge too. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, then let's get into some of the nuts and bolts more with the, 140, 180 under contract. What's your current booking ratio on those? How much of that are you doing in direct? How much are you doing through a third party?
we run about 30% direct, which is, you know, we greatly attribute that to having a strong welcoming website.
Mhm.
And as a newer company, because we're just 2025, we're kind of 4 years into this. As a newer company at 30%, I think that's a good number.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so I think that the fact that we make it easy for people to book direct versus get frustrated and move on to a platform that they're used to, like Airbnb, VRBOs of the world. That aspect I think is important to how we deliver, as well as our local community contacts. So we are lodging partners with several organizations in the community. We promote ourselves or encourage partners to feature us, often through a paid relationship, which I have no issue with paying for good marketing.
Yeah,
But I
it's a good
think that
strategy.
number's, yeah, it's a good number for where we want to be. Um, we would, of course, love to grow it just like everybody else. So
Yeah, but a very healthy balance, right? I mean, you do need to
yes.
have that incubator of new guests that turn into repeat guests. It's about finding that right spot for you. And with those guests across the board, what's your average booking window been like this year, especially? I know it's been a little volatile for the last few years. It's probably been interesting starting a company 4 years ago. There hasn't been, I mean, maybe necessarily been stable ground throughout in terms of
So
booking window, at least.
no, that's a great question. So our booking pace or rate was up 38% in January
Wow.
for
Is in 38%
for
earlier?
38% compared to 2024.
Gotcha. Wow.
And so that was very positive. And those were summer bookings that we were seeing. So spring and summer bookings. So those were further out windows. And it was like this rush. It was really awesome. And
Yeah.
what we've seen though, like coming into Memorial Day and coming into June, the booking window has been much shorter. I would honestly unfortunately, I'd have to pull to give you an exact, where we're at. But we're looking at 4 to 6 weeks, even on some of our bigger properties, like our 4 bedrooms and up. And whereas that could be more of a 60-day window before. Our 2 bedrooms, we're looking at closer to 14 days out.
Yeah.
So, you have to be very sensitive to the market and the market rates to work through that. And that's where I think the professional property management becomes really essential for our owners, because for them to navigate the market rates and adjust and pivot to capture that 2 to 3 week out booking, that would be very difficult. So.
Yeah. No, no kidding. It's a great observation. I'm curious. We were we do a web series called Real Insights where we're looking at our um, crafted demand gen data out of our websites. We're kind of tracking how people are using the websites, where the demand is. You see a pretty sort of perpetual growth trend from like 2 up to 4. That's where a lot of the focus is. And then in some mountain destinations, there's a lot of drop off for 2 bedroom. It's a lot higher in 3 and 4. What does that split look like for you at Lake Days? Is it pretty evenly split between 2 to 3 to 4, or do you see a lot more tilt to one side?
Or the advanced booking window, or as far as the inventory?
Well, I guess generally speaking, where are the bookings coming from? Do you see a higher portion of your inventory selling for 4 bedroom, larger group stays, maybe a more family atmosphere?
Yes, I would say 4 bedroom is a good spot. It's
Mhm.
also a reasonable entry point for somebody that's looking to acquire property here at Lake of the Ozarks. The 3 bedroom is the highest saturated market here at Lake of the Ozarks. So 3 bedroom, 12
Gotcha.
and under guests. So it's still possible to book. Obviously, there's still people in the market for those properties, but your competition is much more significant in that the 3 bedrooms here are actually higher than the 2 bedrooms. So 4-bedroom is, when we are talking to someone looking at entering into the market, not previously an owner, and they're looking at buying, we suggest 4 bedrooms and up. But they also have to look at that 12 and up guest count. So 12 and under is most saturated guest count. So, you really have to find the right setting to present well here at the lake, because we do have a higher number of vacation rentals here at the lake. So.
Yeah, very, very high saturation market there.
Yep.
Great. So then, in terms of your marketing, I know you don't market with us. I'm especially curious. What marketing are you doing, and how are you going about maybe targeting that 4-bedroom? If that's where you see the opportunity, because there's a little less saturation than 3. What are you doing to try to drive those bookings for those?
So what I would say, because I know people are kind of listening for tidbits and ideas, is I think it's important to know your market. Um, Business at the lake is done on Facebook. More than anything else I've ever seen in any other place I've done business is done on Facebook. And because that became very relevant to us in the beginning, that is a big portion of what we do is social media
Yeah,
marketing. But we don't mix it up a ton and ensure we're on all of the platforms, because all of the platforms don't deliver. Facebook delivers. That's been consistent from day one. And so we really focus our efforts there. Other
yeah,
markets,
makes
that may
sense.
not be the case. They might have a
Yeah,
strong YouTube presence or a strong TikTok presence or a strong Instagram. And so you really need to know your market. And then, of course, supplementing that with email marketing is very important. SEO is the space that we're still developing, and having a good partner like you who brings our awareness to what our opportunities are is very important. And like you said, we have an in-house marketing specialist.
yeah,
That's not reasonable for so many. Um, and in our situation, she just kind of fell into our laps, and we're very
yeah. Found the
blessed
right person.
because of that. Yeah. So if you don't have that, though, if you don't have someone that is truly skilled and that is what they do, that's what they know, and that is their professional role, then it's incredibly important to partner with, companies like RealTech or email marketing programs that you guys have available in the outreach and retargeting and all of those things that you're capable of. You have to do it some way, whether it's in-house or with a good partner.
Yeah, but I like the point you're making that you don't have to run towards this huge full suite of marketing if it's not what's necessarily going to work for you. You've tested the waters, you found out that certain platforms don't work. So you put all your eggs in the basket where it returns. I find it really interesting that it's Facebook. I don't think we have a lot of people in markets that would say that. So that's really fascinating. Well,
It's
then,
crazy.
yeah, it's crazy, but if you found the thing, you got to run with it. So then, kind of circling back to the experience side, because that's really your bread and butter. What are 3 things you think that Lake Days Rentals does especially well that have made you successful, especially in a really saturated market?
We have staff buy-in. And that I think is incredibly important because of what we ask the staff to do. As far as how they deliver on cleaning, because we are now 100% in-house cleaning as of January,
Hmm.
and how they deliver on inspections, and just how they deliver overall. If someone wants an iron at the property, they can't find the iron at the property. How do we get the iron to the property? And I, and some of my staff are like, really? They're gonna iron their clothes here at the lake? Well, yeah, maybe they have a wedding, but their
Yeah,
buy-in on those pieces is important. So I feel that that's huge.
yeah,
The
absolutely.
the other aspect is I think that our family, we're tourists at the lake. And I think that's important for everybody that does vacation rental management to settle into. Have you seen your market through the eyes of your guests?
Yeah,
And
taking off the vendor glasses, right?
yeah, I mean, we came here, and our first season was the first time we had lived at Lake of the Ozarks, and it was only our third time that we had visited Lake of the Ozarks, and so we were seeing everything from the eyes of a tourist, and we still do to this day. We go do the touristy things. We love that aspect, and I think because we experience it, we can have those conversations better with our guests. what they would enjoy, what would be something unique. Like there's a Renaissance fair this weekend. Never had a Renaissance fair before at the lake. It's really doing amazing and having great crowds coming in. And so we can share that with our guests because we're in the market and sensitive to what's happening in and around our community.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great insight because you're experiencing things and then you're immediately passing to them. So when you say come stay with us, you're talking about coming and staying and experiencing the things you're experiencing, not this destination that you've been selling in for 30 years and are kind of reading off a list, maybe, there's something to knowing everything, but there's also something to seeing everything with fresh eyes.
Yeah. And then the other part, we use virtual team members, or we use international team members, but the bulk of our team is local. And I'm aware that that's a bigger financial investment to build our company that way. But that local aspect has been an incredible part of our growth. The fact that we can say that confidently to an owner that, hey, just so you know, Jeff is the one that's going to come over if you have a maintenance issue, and Jacqueline is the one that's going to be supervising the team of people that are evaluating and delivering on the quality. And we can name them, and they live there, and they can show up. I think is a big part of
Yeah,
that success also.
yeah, absolutely. Another great point. I feel like just naming them, instead of someone will get with you, this is who's going to get with you. And then it happens quickly. And that's so meaningful to somebody.
Yeah,
Great. I'm skipping around a little bit here in my questions because I
you're
do want to
good.
be cognizant of time, but I also want to bring us down the right pathway.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and if
so
I talk too much, Brett, you just got to say, Pamela, we're on a timeline.
no. I want to let you keep going when you're making great points. What are three challenges that you're facing for 2025? And maybe
Mm.
as a sub bullet, what are some ways you're going after attacking those problems?
So the revenue management, the fluctuation of market rates is really interesting. Um, 4 bedrooms, like I said, those are pretty bread and butter. I mean, they rent
Hmm.
rent well. 5 and 6 and up, when you're getting into the high dollar but not luxury, we're seeing some shifts in those. And so being aware of those shifts and just always knowing your market and what's delivering, I think is really important. And because it's such a seasonal market, you don't have a couple months to figure that out.
Yeah,
So that's
it's
a
now or never.
challenge. Yeah, you have to be in it on a daily basis almost for revenue management to be functional. That's hard to do.
Oh,
Other challenges for this year, bringing cleaning in-house, that was big. And,
yeah, no kidding.
so from how do we train our staff to what products are we using to, what does transportation look like? Our service market is 60-mile radius. And so it's not a close proximity always from point to point of service. So how does transportation look like? What are the regional zones that we can keep our staff in so that they don't experience extensive mileage on their vehicles? A lot of the logistics, bringing cleaning in-house has been a big challenge for us this year. Team is doing great at it. I think they're incredibly aware and always looking to make it better, but that's definitely a big challenge for us.
Yeah, that's a huge one because I
Yes.
feel like I've talked to a lot of clients, when I was a marketing manager who were fiddling with the idea or, fantasizing about being able to do it, but it's such a big bite to take. Any final pro tips for someone who's considering making that jump that could kickstart the process?
The control of quality has incredible reward,
Hmm.
but from a money standpoint, it's the right decision. And that really is where it's at for me. Quality, we had good partners locally. We really did. So we had good partners locally that we could rely on and cleaned our properties. They were good contracts.
Hmm.
But when it comes down to it, if I can bring that in-house and I have more people in the community that work directly for us, they buy into our mission and they speak of Lake Days Rentals in that positive tone because they are part of our local team community, that enhances who we are in the community. And then from a financial perspective, being able to retain the cleaning fees and apply it in-house and utilize it to build our team and create a high quality service delivery that is unmatched. Just not possible to enhance that when you're working with contract because your money is going out instead of in.
Yeah. Well, you have your hand on the wheel, right? You can make sure that it's in Pam's vision and in Lake Day's vision.
And those people when they're at the, I mean, it's kind of like having a private driver versus an Uber driver. If you have a private driver and you want to stop at Walmart or you want to stop at Dairy Queen and get some ice cream and you know, and you want to do all those things, you can do that. But when you got your Uber driver, you just kind of point A to point B. Our in-house cleaning team, you know, somebody left a cowboy hat the other day. And so I can call my in-house cleaning team and say, hey, by the way, there's a cowboy hat there. Can you bring it back to the office? We need to get it to the guest. Or, hey, by the way, can you please check on the location of the electrical panel or picture we have in Breezeway is kind of blurry. We want to, you know, improve that. Can you take that picture for us while you're there? I mean, we can ask of them things that we couldn't ask when we were in a contract state. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, funny story, not to take time out of all the attendees' day here to tell a personal story, but I was just in Austin for VR Nation and I left my favorite hat at a restaurant. And I was honestly, they got it back to me, but I was caught off guard at how hard it was for a high-end restaurant to take initiative on getting it back to me. I really had to like send them a label, tell them where to drop it. Where I would have just loved to hear, send us your address and we'll take care of it. And so it sounds like y'all do that. And in a live example there, I think that's great.
we do. And having everyone in house is what makes that possible. But you have to have the buy-in. That I just sent a video over to the staff a couple days ago because we're, you know, in the heart of this hard part of launching Memorial Day weekend. And I said, you know, when somebody asks you, do we do that? The answer is yes, we do. We'll figure out the details later, but it's a yes, we do answer. And then if it was yes, we do, and it was chaos and it didn't go well and it was a challenge, then bring that to our attention so that the next time that we say yes, we do, it's functional
Yeah.
and it's not hard. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You make the impression, and then you can learn how to make the impression easier and more frictionless the next time around.
Yes.
Well, speaking of reducing friction in your business, I would love to hear, and maybe stay away from RealTech if you want on this one, but what is an underrated tool or platform or strategy that you've employed for Lake Days that you think would be beneficial for other people?
Great tool. I've
Unless you
used it.
just want to talk about RealTech the whole time, that's
No,
fine.
I say I am going to talk about RealTech because I had been the lead on guest communications for the first 4 year or 3 years of our company operations up to 120 properties before we brought in somebody else to take the lead on that.
Hmm.
And the main reason that was a hard transition is because so much was in my head that couldn't be in their head. And it was in my
Hmm.
head because I'd been in the properties and I'd experienced the lake and I knew those things. And so we have really challenged you guys to say, okay, I need this in our website. And even if a guest isn't going to use it, we use your website to share potential rentals through our guest communications and our reservationists
Hmm.
as that source of delivery of here's your potential rentals. And so we have worked very diligently with you and with Streamline to make sure that our alignment allows for that search function to deliver as we need it to, so that we're sending the guest a pretty reference of here's
Yeah.
your, you know, here's your potential properties versus more of a data centric, which comes from Streamline. And again, functional, but more data centric. And we want pretty and marketing and presenting. And so that has been a big part of it because what we envision and what we want didn't come naturally to you. You're not in our market. We're in our
Right.
market, but
Yeah.
we were able to communicate with you and design how we wanted to deliver, working with a good partner on that side. So that is one thing that I think is underrated. I think a lot of people get a website out there and assume that the website is as it should be. And if you don't ask
Great
the
point.
questions, you don't know what the potential of your website is. Fortunately, we have Amanda, who is amazing at asking those questions, saying, so why isn't this possible? And your team in response be like, well, it might not be normal, but maybe it is possible. And if you
Let's
can
look at
have
it,
that,
right?
yeah, that kind of conversation is incredibly valuable. The other thing I want to point out, because a lot of people don't, I'm surprised by the number of people who are like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. So I've used Calendly,
Okay.
which is a scheduling link,
Hmm.
for 5 years, different businesses. forever. We use that for our new owner onboarding, our new owner inquiries, for our current owners to schedule their periodic connections. And then within internally, my team can look at my Calendly links and then get on my calendar as well if they need something outside of a scheduled time frame. So
Yeah,
Calendly is something that's very valuable for us to automate connections and eliminate the back and forth. What's your schedule? When will this work? That kind of stuff.
that's a great tip.
Yeah.
That's something that we do on the business side. Um, I can only imagine how much time it's and how much guest experience it changes for like a potential owner. Just to say, we'll come to you. Tell us when you're available to talk, and we'll be there. That's powerful. What is maybe an overrated platform? Are there any tech tools or strategies in 4 years that you found just didn't quite move the needle the way you wanted to?
That's hard because I don't want to
You
dodge
don't have to name
anybody.
anybody.
Okay.
You don't have to answer at all if you don't want to.
I think data systems are overrated.
Data
I'm not
systems in terms of
data
like metrics.
systems, rate systems, data
Gotcha.
systems. So we invest in three. Because I haven't found a winner.
Still looking
And
for the
yeah,
champion.
I am. Now, are they essential? Absolutely essential. Should you have more than one? I would say yes. But as far as the functionality of them, there's a lot to be desired. So when I say overrated, I mean as far as what they promise they can deliver, I think, yes, they are capable of it if you're investing a lot of time on your end. Now, if any of those partners are on here, I might get a call tomorrow saying, hey, by the way, you might not be doing it right. But, that's my perspective. The learning curve is too high to make it an immediately functional tool and resource for me.
That's
Um,
good feedback.
yeah.
Any so that we can make it actionable for the people on today. Anything that in your journey of finding one that maybe could jumpstart the process of finding the right one for them, something that you know is super valuable to you that you're getting out of it?
It needs to produce more than one thing. I don't want to have a data tool that helps me with pricing analysis and have to purchase another data tool that I can use for marketing and revenue potential presentations, and then have to buy another tool that helps my owners see that they're performing well. I want one tool that can do it all in a functional
Hmm.
manner. That's what I want. And that's probably why I'm not finding, why I say overrated. It's not that the concept of them is overrated. I think the promise of what each is able to deliver is overrated right now, and I haven't found the right tool that really does it all.
Gotcha. So maybe really identify your priorities early on so that you can be
Yes. So they
working
know
against
what you're
a
looking
rubric.
for and ask them. My biggest question anymore when I talk to anyone is, what does the onboarding look like and how much support do I have in the first 90 days? Because it doesn't do me any good to engage financially in this product if I'm not going to be able to use it effectively and use it effectively quickly. So
It's
that's a
great now.
very important question for me going forward, any tech we're looking at. So
Yeah, no, that's a really good tip. Is there anything out there that you're seeing in other property management businesses that you kind of have on your roadmap or aspirations list that you want to do with Lake Days? Whether that be a specific example of one company or something you just see a lot in the industry right now.
Um, I'm going to use the last couple days as an example. So I'm in Orlando. Casa Go just acquired Vacasa. There's all this big
Yep,
stuff happening.
there's lots
Uh,
of it, I'm
yeah,
sure.
and so I'm here. There was maybe 20 of us here of the franchisee owners, and Steve, the founder, and then a facilitator, Matt Landau. And they took the time for us to create that space for us to collaborate and have small group conversations and meaningful connection.
Right.
Um, I don't do that enough at LakeDays.Rentals. I don't. And so tomorrow at 8 a.m., I'm meeting with my team, or actually Friday, 8 a.m., meeting with my team, and we are introducing our new connection schedule of meetings. And I don't like the word meetings, we're calling them connection points,
Right.
where I am setting that up with small groups and integrated roles so that they have a time when they're getting together. And then the other thing that we're doing is we're implementing a daily meeting, a stand up and concept 10 minutes or less.
Mhm.
Everybody connects virtually. And that's, I think, probably of everything I'm implementing, that's going to be the most powerful. Because we
Yeah,
are disconnected in property management because we're everywhere. So many people are remote teams and they're not in office, or they're at properties and they're not sharing the stories that connect them from a mission and vision level. And we need to do that more.
that's really well said. I think that's a great venture for you. I mean, because you're calling on the hive mind. You can stay connected as people, and you can stay connected as members of the same team with the same mission. But you also get to stay a little more plugged in to just what those friction points are in their day, what their successes are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
great, Pam.
I think that I hope that they're receptive to it. I know, for some of them, especially coming into Memorial Day weekend, they'll be like, are you serious? You're going to try this now? You know, is there not a better timing? But I think there's no better timing than now to connect. And if we weren't doing it well before, then we need to do it now. Absolutely.
Yeah, great. And I mean, it only gets harder as you grow, right?
Mhm.
Create those foundations now. Well, in terms of time, we've got maybe 10 more minutes here. I've got one more question I want to ask, and then I want to jump into a couple questions we got from the group. Um, my question to you would just be, actually, let's go ahead and answer Rebecca's question if that's all right. So Rebecca R asked, when was your first hire and how many people do you have now?
Good question. So I should clarify the first hire is saying that I have 6 children and 3 of them did move here. Or I'm sorry, 4 of them moved here with us and helped in the company. So we should start there. Quantify your family, but quantify your contributors. So our first hire was in July of 2022, and we were right at 35 properties at that point. And we were
Um,
doing everything other than contract cleaning. So we were maintenance, inspections, and laundry. We built an in-house laundry right away because we had a huge loss of linens the first year. So we're right at 30 properties. Our first hire was maintenance. We just had this conversation yesterday, who should you hire first? Whatever is taking the most of your time that is keeping you from giving your time to what you're best at. And my husband was doing maintenance and he could do other things more more effectively if he was not doing that. The second hire was a virtual assistant who is still with me to this day, and he knows everything that's in my brain. That's his job, and he does incredibly well at it. And so he secondary trains, knows all the technology, and is incredibly valuable to how we moved forward. So
yeah, virtual assistant seems like a handy thing to have.
yeah.
And how you may have said this, but in case I just missed it,
Oh,
how many total staff do you have now?
so we run around 20 team members year round. We do adjust hours in the off season for anyone that's not on a salary basis. And then this summer, we will probably hit just over 40 now that we brought cleaning in-house.
Gotcha. Great. Good sustainable growth.
Yeah. And a lot of people say, wow, that's a lot of employees. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not willing to not do the things that I want to do. So I feel it's my job to grow and scale and build the business to pay for my vision of how we deliver service. That's how I see those two things matching up.
Seems like that's paying off to really invest in how you want the experience to be and instead of maybe how you want the bottom line to be first.
Yeah. Makes
Great.
my husband nervous.
Sometimes husbands are
He's the money
nervous.
guy.
I can relate to those nervous feelings. Um, Great. We got just a couple more minutes here. Again, anyone who's on, throw a question in the Q&A if you have them. I think I see maybe one came in here. Yeah, Rebecca's got a great follow-up question, actually. How did you go about handling human resources for your team?
Is a great question. And that would be one of our failures, for sure. We did not develop a strong HR structure until we were at that 20 employee level.
Hmm.
We really approached it from a casual basis, which is surprising because my background in executive coaching and healthcare is definitely HR is not casual. But we were so busy
Hmm.
and they bought in and they were willing. I let it go on too long. because they were willing to go
Yeah.
along with me. And that was a failure for sure. We should have developed that early on and had those systems in place from the start so that they
Hmm.
had that foundation. Now that we have it, they're very appreciative of it, but
I'm sure
it was late for sure.
it was late.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about learning, right? It's all about learning and
Yes.
growing. You said something in there that set me up for probably our last question for today. Uh, but I think it's one of the most fun questions that we like to ask on these, which is, kind of a two-parter. One, what are the three responsibilities that you spend the most of your time doing? And what's the one thing that you never get to that you wish you could? And it doesn't have to be three, but
No, no,
two,
good
two or three.
question. Because of our growth, I do owner acquisition and I'm heavily involved in owner acquisition.
Hmm.
I'm the first phone call that they have, and I'm usually the first site visit that they have. Though my team member Amanda just closed a $2.3 million property while I was here, so maybe I'm not as essential as I think I am.
What,
Um,
Amanda?
I know.
Yeah,
And sometimes I think that's the case. You spend all your time doing something because you think it can't be passed on, or you're the one that needs to do it, and then somebody else does, and you're like, oh, well, maybe that could work. Um, the other thing, I do a lot of community forward facing things, whether it's board meetings, board of realtors, nonprofits, um, socials, chamber of commerce. I do a lot of the forward facing, public facing, face of the business type engagement.
yeah.
And then I am our revenue manager. So that's what I was doing right before the call, before I realized the time change. Um, I handle the revenue management, and I will continue to do that until I know it to the point where I can train it well. And I'm not there yet. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, good answer to that question. Well, Pam, we really appreciate your time today.
yes. And I appreciate being on. Sorry, I was a little bit late. You
Oh,
could
no
ask my
problem.
husband, that's normal, but I try not to let other people catch that too. So,
No, not a big deal. We usually start a couple minutes late, give people time to join in. Yeah, thank you again for coming on. Great insights today, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
absolutely. And thank you guys for creating this type of environment for your partners. I think sometimes before we engaged with Casago, we felt very alone in the space. And so the fact that you're creating this for your partners, especially those that may not have a group of peers, or they're new, or maybe they're isolated in their market, having something like this has great value. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. I'm really excited to hear that it's delivering on the intent.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Thanks again to Pam for coming on, and hopefully we'll talk to all of you soon. You have a great rest of your days.
Thank you guys. Bye bye.
Bye.